Hey, special day, and I'm actually going to dedicate today's episode to all of the little black girls that have always wanted to be a ballerina, but honestly thought that they couldn't because they didn't necessarily see themselves on the stage or even in the movies when they're like having ballerinas dance. Today we have Amanda Morgan with us from Pacific Northwest Ballet, and she is the first black female soloist. All right, we're gonna get into our intro, and then once we come back, we're gonna bring in Amanda. Hi, Amanda.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. Happy to be here.
Good. So, first of all, shout out to Seattle for giving us some nice rain today.
Yeah.
So, okay, today is actually the first day for you doing the Nutcracker, right?
Yes.
And we definitely don't want to hold you too long, but I want to ask you a few questions about how you became a ballerina and got your start. So, for one, you're from Tacoma,
Yes.
which is super dope. I didn't realize that you were from Tacoma. And I read, or not even I read, I seen on the day with Trey that you ended up kind of falling in love with dance and wanting to be a ballerina after you went to your first show.
So I'm originally from Tacoma, Washington, from immigrant family. So my mom is Dominican and my dad is Puerto Rican. So there's not very many dancers at all in our family. But I just like my mom took me to see the Nutcracker one time when I was younger, and then I just wanted to, dance ever since. Yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit about that experience in that day?
Yeah, so I mean, I'd seen small shows with smaller local companies here in Washington, but it really was when I saw New York City Ballet do the Nutcracker when I was 9. And I remember specifically seeing the Sugar Plum Fairy and being like, oh, I'm going to do that. Like just feeling like I'm going to do it. Like not even I want to. Like I'm going
Like it's
to
going
do
to
it.
happen.
It's going to happen. Whether or not like anyone tells me no, or I'm going to make that happen.
Yeah.
And I was already doing ballet at the time, but I think like that scene that of like just the enormous amount of like what ballet could be, and the fact that it was a profession, right?
Yeah.
Like a lot of people don't realize that you can just like get paid to dance.
Yeah.
And so when I found that out, I was like, I mean, I'm still gonna do school, but like, I mean, I could get paid to do this.
Options
Of
are
course,
endless now.
of course, I'm gonna do it. So yeah, got back here and just really, really, really working hard.
Yeah.
Just trying to dive into the dance, learning as much as I could, and then once I got to about 14 years old, I was like, okay, I need to go to a bigger school. I need to go somewhere that's like pretty prestigious and renowned. So everyone was like, well, Pacific Northwest Ballet is like really, really amazing. I'd never really like been exposed to them because I was in Tacoma. So
Fair.
even though it's close enough, it's still
It's
pretty
still not
far.
that close.
Yeah, it's still pretty far.
At least not in a
so-
convenient way.
yeah, so I didn't really get to see them until I had a friend that was already in the school, and she was like, "You should come audition." So I auditioned, and I got in on a full scholarship.
Wow.
So I was like, my parents didn't need any convincing. They were just like, "All right, I guess
Let's
maybe
do this."
let's do it," which was wonderful. Yeah, and then I joined the school in 2011, I believe it was. Went through level 7, level 8. And then I got invited
Now, what does
to
that
be.
mean?
So there's different levels in the school. So you have levels like 1 through 8 is like the professional school or the school that P&B has, and then they have like creative movement and things before. But it's really like levels 1 through 8. You learn different things as you go along. Since I came when I was a little bit older, I went to level 7 already,
Gotcha.
and then I went to level 8, and then after that they pick like 2 to 3, sometimes 4 students to be in the professional division.
Mhm.
And so I was picked out of my class. I was one of the 3 students to be picked for that.
Dope.
And then once you're in the professional division, you're with people from all around the world,
Yeah.
pretty much. So I had friends that were like from the complete other side of the country, from a different country. Like it was,
It's like those movies. Like I don't remember what movie it was that I seen, but you end up having all of these kids and adults coming to this one school from
Yes.
just all over the world, all over the country, and it's
Yes.
like a huge experience. And then like when you finally see everyone on stage, it's like Damn.
Yeah.
This is like dope.
Yeah. So like there's like so many different people, like students from all over. And so that's when the competition, like, it definitely intensifies because you're all fighting to just get the one or
That
two
one
contracts
spot. Yeah.
that are available. And there's like 40 of us. And so I, was doing that. I already was from here, which I was really fortunate to not have to go anywhere else. I think a lot of people, they have to travel across the country and go live somewhere elsewhere from their families.
Yeah.
Luckily, I got to be pretty close by. But yeah, so I broke my foot actually.
Okay, now, I was going to ask you about that. How did this happen?
Yeah, so I was doing what we would call a double soda boss, where you jump in the air and you go around twice in a jump. Kind of like, when you see the figure skaters go up, but they go on ice. It's like doing that, but without any ice and without any skates.
Okay.
And you're
a little
supposed to
less
land.
dangerous, at least it's supposed to be.
It's pretty dangerous. Usually, I would say ballerinas don't tend to do that step as much. It's usually more the flat dancers or the men that do that step.
Gotcha.
But I was being a little bit of a show off, and I was very confident back then. And I went for it, and I was able to do them back then. But I went for it, and then I fell and broke my foot. And that week was when my director, Peter Bowl, was kind of like letting people know if they're going to get hired or not, or if he's kind of deciding. And so I showed up the next week with a big red cast up to my knee.
You're like, I'm still coming though.
Yeah, like I was like, I can't dance. I honestly thought I was like, this might be the end for me. Like, because a lot of times when you get injured, you miss an opportunity. Yeah. Like that's a really important time to kind of be seen. And he took a chance on me and told me that he was still going to save an apprentice contract for me over people that weren't even injured. So many people. So I was like, and on top of all of that, like, I think hearing that and knowing that there hadn't been a Black woman, in this company for like at least 30 years, at least since the 90s, 80s. So I was like, oh my gosh, like, this is like huge. Like, this is opening the door because like
literally
there were
legendary.
Black men in this company, time and time again, but like to see a Black woman, like a ballerina, because of like, the standards of like what it means to be feminine, what like there's so many things that ballet upholds in that. And as Black women, I think we tend to be seen as masculine sometimes. Yeah. We're seen as harder. We are not able to be soft and fragile when we are soft and fragile and tender and all those things. In addition to strong and all of these things, we're multifaceted. So I think just, like opening that was like, okay, it's happening. And then it was hard.
I bet.
It was hard because I was the only, Black woman in the company. There's no one to see.
Did you, and shoot, not even did you, have you gotten used to being the only Black woman typically in the room?
I think when I was younger, yeah, but I think you don't notice that you're the only one until it becomes more of a competition thing.
Gotcha.
And then you start noticing, oh, like, why are things harder for me?
Yeah.
Why are people expecting me to be, like, excellent at something, whereas other people can be average?
Mediocre.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You just said it. And it's like, it's the reality.
The basics.
I think, as Black people, we have to be excellent at everything we do. When you're the only one, because you're not just representing yourself, you're representing your whole community. Mm-hmm. And so I think, I had that enormous pressure on me when I joined the company, and I was only 19 years old, dealing with all of that, while also trying to figure out, like, how do I, like, navigate being a professional ballet dancer? Because, I'm brand new to this. And I think I navigated it pretty well because I had people in the company that were looking out for me that were older. So one person in particular, Carl Cruz, he was Afro-Cuban. So still Black, but like he really mentored me along with his wife, Lindsay Deck. They're both principal dancers. Mm-hmm. There's a few other dancers that just really like took me under their reign and was like, like you have to just like kind of separate yourself from all of that and just focus on the dance and just work really hard, because at the end of the day, like if you do that, you're going to get to where you need to go, because we all see it.
Yeah.
And so I think that was really the push I needed. And I think when you are the only one, it does make you kind of like, it gives you this perspective of like, okay, well, like, how do I not become the only one?
Yeah, like how can I bring more people in?
So once the protests happened, specifically when George Floyd was murdered, just the reaction from ballet in general was like, there wasn't a lot of reaction. Mm-hmm. And that really angered me, because I was like, I'm over here like putting my body like on the line, like literally working, for this company.
and they're not even saying anything about it. It's like, what are all these young little black boys and black girls gonna like?
What are they gonna think?
Or it's like,
You
what are
just
they
don't
gonna think?
care.
Like, yeah, they need
Well,
to know
that
that they're
and
supported.
well, that and the fact that a lot of times, black people don't even feel welcome coming to the ballet. It's like, I don't even know if I'm supposed to be here to even sit in
Exactly.
the audience, let alone you guys not even say anything when something this big is happening.
Exactly. Yes. Like all of that. So yeah, I brought it up with my artistic director, our executive director. I yelled a little bit, but I will say they listened. They really listened. There are sometimes uncomfortable conversations, but I think like that stuff needs to happen in order for
Yeah.
change to happen. And so, there was just so much that happened in Seattle, when the protests happened. But I mean, once we were slowly coming back into ballet, because we weren't able to dance during all of that.
True.
We weren't able to even be in studios all together as a company. We were in pods for like four of us.
So were you like, wow?
And so sometimes I wouldn't even go. I would be like, I'm not really wanting to go into work. Like I'm gonna go protest because I'm like, this just feels more important to me right now. Especially like when there's just so much going on. But I think at a certain moment, I was like, okay, like how can I still be an activist in the arts?
Yeah.
Like what can I do like in my position to like amplify that? And I think by me speaking up, by people listening, by people like taking a chance, like now our company is like so diverse, which is I never thought it would turn like that so quickly.
I seen it was at about 45 or 50% diverse now.
Yeah, which is like insane because if you saw like what our company was before, you would be like, oh, it's like all lily white and like maybe like two people of color.
And if I'm not mistaken, I read that P&B recently brought on their first non-binary dancers.
Yeah, they have two non-binary dancers who are incredible. I like work with them a lot, like choreographing with them. But yeah, like I just think we're P&B in particular is like very much looking at dance in a way of like, okay, but like how are we evolving? Like where is dance evolving to that it really is inclusive to everyone?
Yeah.
Not just every type of color, every type of gender identity, every type of sexuality, like even like accessibility and like things like that. I'm starting to see that happen more so here, which I feel really grateful to be in a company that is doing that because if it wasn't, I don't think I would be able to succeed as much as I have.
True. Do you feel that they would have still gotten to this point without all of the protests in 2020? Or do you feel like that's what actually needed to happen?
I think that all really did shift. It was a big shift for a lot of organizations because not only are you, because you're like realizing like all these real world issues. It's like ballet, like we tend to make everything to a fantasy type of thing, trying to deflect from that. But that's not what ballet just is. That's not what dance just is. We also can use that to really amplify what is going on right now and how can we connect to that? How can people see themselves in that? And it was more evident than ever when all of that was happening. The pandemic, the protests, like all of that, that ballet was behind in like feeling that it could relate to humanity in that way. Humans didn't want to go see a story about a weak little,
it didn't
woman
matter
trying
at that
to find
moment.
love when, people are dying, and I'm not saying that ballet needs to be everyone dying all the time, but just having that steady balance of like really being able to reflect what we see in the world while also like imagining what it can be and like how to, like just be creative in that sense of like visualizing, I don't know, like more of a fantasy, which I think is also good because you don't always want to be down all the time either. And that's the great thing that art can do. It can do both.
Now, curious, what would you say to like younger girls that are from Tacoma like yourself and they want to dance? Like, what would be some warnings that you would give them in terms of, yes, dance, yes, do your best, but this is what you're definitely going to have to deal with while you're here?
Yeah, I mean, I would say in general, like, so for me, when I was going to Pacific Northwest Ballet School, and I'm from Tacoma, I still went to normal high school, went to Curtis High School, and had to go to high school at 6:30 in the morning.
Wow.
Starting at 6:30 in the morning, I would wake up at like 5:30 in the morning to make it to school because I lived in Tacoma. And then I would leave high school at 1 o'clock and take 3 city buses to get to here every day.
Wow.
Pretty much. And then I would take the city bus back to Tacoma late at night after that whole, day of school and of like ballet classes. And a lot of kids have to do that. It is like very much a sacrifice when you know that you want to be a professional ballet dancer or a ballet dancer in general. Like it's a lot of discipline, and that's why when you talk to a lot of ballet dancers, you'll be like, wow, they're like so smart, they're so disciplined, they're very on top of it, because you kind of have to be.
Yeah.
Like there's just so much you're cramming into a day. So I would say, yeah, like that is something to keep in mind, but also like I think being mindful of just like enjoying certain present moments more. Like I think one thing I'm really fortunate about, I was happy I went to normal high school still, because I had like these connections and these friends like that. I mean, I still am friends with a couple of them still to this day. And we made great memories, even though I was also like exhausted, and had to go to ballet class. But sometimes when you just like, some people will just go to like school online and just be alone and do that and then just do ballet. But I just feel like it's always good to have a healthy balance of like remembering where you're from.
Some normality.
Yes. Yeah. Having that normality in a bit too, because also that does like goes into like how you dance on stage. That goes into being able to relate to audiences. I feel like when I'm on stage, like when people are seeing me dance, they really are seeing like who I am as a person. I'm not putting on a false pretense or any of that. Like I'm like very much being vulnerable in that sense.
It's funny. I actually wrote in my notes that you are vulnerable in general. Like I went on your Instagram and I seen like a post where you were talking about how the photo of you where you're like on your point and you're like your leg is up and you're like, this is my favorite photo of me. I'm able to have my natural hair out. I'm able to wear my tights or not wear tights, but the tights that I wear, they can be like the actual my skin tone. I can wear points that are my skin tone. Can you tell me about like coming into yourself as a ballerina, even though you weren't able to possibly do that for a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just been really refreshing because I've gotten to this point now where I've been promoted, accomplished something that like no one that looks like me has done yet. And I'm able to also really just like be myself in that. Not like I think in a lot of other companies, Black women are not able to do that. They still have to be acting a certain way and dressing a certain way.
You have to put on a certain face when they come to work.
You still are stereotyped into what roles you get casted as.
Yeah.
And I mean, that happens to everyone. But I think it happens more so to Black women than anyone else. And it's definitely happened to me, but I don't know. I've just found this like level of like, I can be very transparent and honest about how I'm feeling. Especially with the people I work with and the people that are at the front of the room, which is not a normalized thing in ballet culture, but it needs to be, because like in general, when you are able to communicate more and like say what you want and kind of just collaborate in that way, like the art will just be better.
Yeah.
Like everything will just be better, in my opinion. That's just like how I see it.
I feel like if you're not necessarily, being honest with yourself at work and in your art, I feel like you would be able to see it on stage.
Yes.
Like I feel like you would be probably tense on stage because you're not relaxed and maybe you're feeling away about something.
It is so true. It is so true. And like, so when you like see dancers, like you can tell like when you're just so incredibly happy to be on stage. Like that's why like for the most part, whenever I'm on stage, unless I'm in pain, but I'm still good at acting in that sense. But like, I'm just so happy because at the end of the day, it is about the audience. Like as much as it is for us, like, and it feels great, like it is about that exchange between the audience and the performer, because I find that to be like the most sacred of experiences. And like, I don't know, I just see the theater and the stage as like a very sacred place. There's a lot that can happen there.
It's a lot of energy that gets exchanged. It's like, I think the crowd is feeding off of your energy and what you're putting out and your emotions, but then you're also feeding off of the claps and the and the tears and the laughs that like it's literally a full on energy exchange that's happening between you and us in that moment. Really quick, because I know that you have to get ready to get out of here soon, but how does it feel to have performed on the stage that you first saw the Nutcracker, to now also have said that you wanted to be the Sugar Plum Fairy and literally be doing it in your city now?
Yeah, so I saw the Nutcracker in New York.
Yes.
But I mean, I'd seen PMB's Nutcracker probably a little bit later when I was older, but I mean, just knowing that I am dancing on that stage, every single time I go in that theater, it's a very crazy experience because I get all these little flashbacks to when I I think the first time I ever danced on that stage, it was like Snow White or like a family matinee, and I was like a level 7. and our principal dancer Elle Macy was doing Snow White at the time, like who like was a student. So it's
Yeah.
like very long time ago. But I just like think about that time where I like went on the stage and no one was there. It was dark, and I just like looked up and I was like, wow, this is huge. Like the stage is huge, and like we all just like are so fortunate to be able to like be dancing in a place like this. Like even when we went on tour to New York this past summer,
Mhm.
and the stage there is incredible. I mean, everything there is incredible. There's a lot of history there, but it's smaller than our stage.
Really?
Even in New York, yes. And I don't know. I was just like, wow, like something as like New York City Ballet that has like so many dancers, like they're crammed in some of these spaces, like with so many people. And like we get all this space and we don't always use it. Like I'm like we have so many resources. We have everything needed to just like be a really great ballet company. And I
Yeah.
think we're doing that, but like there's always, there's always moments where we can be better. And I'm loving seeing that everyone wants that and wants to be better and wants to kind of like just include more and more people like in this ballet community.
I love it. Now, speaking of including more people, you have the Seattle project.
Yes.
You started that in 2019. Can you tell us a little bit more about it and how people could also be involved if they wanted to?
Yeah, so the two goals pretty much for my Seattle project, which I decided to create like mostly like a lot of it was because I wasn't being used enough. Like I was like, I'm not dancing enough. Like what am I doing?
Wow.
Like so then I was like, ugh, I already was kind of choreographing a little bit, pretty young still. But I was like, wow, that's like another way to really be involved with dance and amplify other dancers. Like when you tell them, like when you give them moves, when you give them narratives to kind of act out, like that is like, it's like one of my biggest loves, honestly. But yeah, the two main goals are to make the arts accessible. So that's like being able to see the arts and dance in particular, not just in expensive theaters where you have to pay money. You can see them in smaller theaters. You can see it in public parks, see it in museums,
I
things
saw
like
you
that.
guys dancing at Jimi Hendrix.
Yes. So we are doing that. That's like kind of our aim is to have shows not only in theaters, but also having dance on film. So whether that's like small movie theaters that you can see dance on film and also like, access it in that way. Seeing dance obviously like in parks, even just when you're picnicking out with your family and you're just, seeing dance. Like
It's dope
that's
to
like
see.
it's just like kind of like knowing that like this like this art form belongs to everyone
Yeah.
and anyone that wants to partake in it, and you should be able to see yourself in that. So another main goal of mine is to really amplify like LGBTQ plus and BIPOC artists, whether that's like them creating work or like being in the work. I think that's just like the more we diversify that, I mean the art can only get better again.
True.
So those are kind of the two main things. Next year I'll be having my first ever full length work I ever make, which I've never done before.
Nice. Are you excited?
Yeah, I'm hoping to have only Black femmes be a part of it. I'll be working with a painter to be making pieces based off of what I make in live performance. So it'll kind of be a mixture of painting, live dance, and dance on film as well.
Oh my
All at
gosh.
Northwest Film Forum, which will be happening in May.
I'm gonna have to definitely come to that. I've
Yeah.
gone to like I haven't gone to the Northwest one, but I went to Langston Hughes's film thing.
Langston
and it was
Hughes is so cool.
super dope.
That's
and
another
I'm like,
place
"Ugh,
we're
I gotta
eventually
go."
hoping to present work at. But yeah, so I mean, it's hard though because I also have a full-time job as
Yeah.
a professional ballet dancer, so it's like figuring out how to balance that. And I think now that I'm a soloist, I have a little bit more time. I also do college at Seattle University, so
Wow.
I'm a very booked girl.
Booked
But
and busy.
It's nice. I think it's all going to pay off, like eventually, because what I do want to do eventually is like be in a position of power, like something where I can kind of like create opportunities for other artists to dance, whether that's having my own company or helping with a nonprofit. I don't know what
Yeah.
it will be, but I definitely want to do that type of work. So.
A world of wonder awaits at Pacific Northwest Ballet's The Nutcracker. Treat your loved ones to the Northwest's favorite holiday tradition at Seattle Center's McCall Hall. Tickets start at $27. Visit pnb.org.
Well, before I let you go, we have to do 6 randoms with Besa.
Okay, fun.
So, number 1, How do you relax after a long season?
How do I relax after a long season? Lately, I haven't relaxed after a long season.
No time to relax.
I always go on like a vacation, but it's like something that's like a very sporadic and like I'm doing a lot. But I mean, one thing I really love, I love watching like period piece dramas or like movies and just like having a nice cup of tea or coffee and just like like getting really into it.
Do you have a favorite brand of tea?
Favorite brand of tea? Oh, that's hard. I don't know if I do, honestly.
I like yogi teas because they have the little they have
they
quotes
have
on
really
them.
good quotes. Yeah, they do have really good
And then they have
quotes.
like so many different flavors, and I'm like, I wonder if this detox really works.
Honestly, it might. I
They have
have no
like
idea.
a skin detox one. I'm like, let's see if this works. Why not?
Oh my God.
Okay, number 2. What is one misconception of being a ballerina?
That is easy. Probably that one first and foremost. Like people are like, "Oh, you just dance on your toes? Like that's so nice." Like or like also that like it's not a job.
Yeah.
I think in general when we think about the arts, people think it's a hobby and not a job, and it's very much so a job just as much as anything else. So, and just as important too. I think people need the arts. So.
What is your favorite locally owned restaurant?
Ooh. That's hard.
You can give me like 3.
Okay, well, at one point it was Kadai McCann, but they just like shut down. It's in Capitol Hill. I loved Kadai McCann.
I haven't been there. Or should
It's
I say
like
I
a
never went?
Cambodian street food, or like either Cambodian or Malaysian. Either way, it was so good. Ooh, that's hard. I really like Seattle Fish Guys.
Haven't been there yet. Where's
It's
that
a
at?
poke place in Central, or like near Central District. Kind of. Really good. Okay, honestly, I'm just gonna go with Dino's. That's like one of my places.
Okay.
I always go to Dino's. I live right there, so like.
Fair
yeah.
enough. Okay, are you going to see Black Panther 2 if you haven't?
I already saw it. It was great. It was great. I was crying. It was wonderful. Everyone go see it if you haven't. I was like, this is so for the culture. Loved it. I'm like also Afro-Latina, so it's like just it really just got
It was a
everything.
vibe.
It was I was like, yes.
It was everything you needed in life and some.
Yes.
Okay, so what is one ballet that you have not done yet that you want to do?
I haven't done yet. Oh, there's a lot. I haven't done this part. I would always want to do like Kitri and Don Quixote, like something more like Spanish inspired because I'm like Dominican and Puerto Rican. But honestly, like I just want to do something like outrageous. Just like outrageous, like wacky, like no one's ever seen something like that before. Those are the types of things I want to do.
Okay, you might have to write it though. That would be
I
actually
might.
dope.
I probably will do something like that eventually.
That would be dope. Okay, what would you tell yourself that first day that you went to go see the Nutcracker?
Follow your intuition. You're right. You're gonna do it. Because I'm gonna be at the Sugar Plum Fair this year. That's gonna be my first ever time doing it. Is this year.
Do you realize you manifested that?
Yeah, I believe in manifestation. I do. I actually really do in this weird way.
I always like cackle when people are like, I tried to manifest, but it didn't work. And I'm like, you can't manifest without putting the work behind it.
No,
It doesn't
yeah,
work
you
that
have to
way.
do both.
You can't just make a wish and think that a genie's just gonna
No, you just gotta like you're working towards this stuff, but like if you believe that you can do it, I really do think that it's meant to, like, it will happen. Unless there's something better that comes along and you're like, oh, like I thought for me, like I was like, oh, I'm gonna do all this like so young. But then I was like, oh, like if I did that, I would have not been able to do like all these other things at P&B.
Yeah.
Like I would have never even known that I like to choreograph, you know, like all of these things. So I don't know. I think everything happens for a reason, at least in my life. So I'm pretty grateful.
That's right. Okay, and last one. If you have the option, will you stay on Earth or are you going to go to Mars?
Oh, I've talked about this with my boyfriend.
Shut up.
He's like really obsessed with space. And I was like, no, I'm not going to Mars because I've already not seen enough on Earth. Like, Earth is like, I don't know. Like, I'm like, there's just so many beautiful things here. How am I going to go all the way to another planet if I haven't even seen like everything here first?
Yeah, we haven't even gotten all the way to the bottom of the ocean yet.
Yeah. I don't need to go there. I don't need to go there.
Not that curious.
No.
Okay, so one, I want to thank you so much for coming. I'm so proud of everything that you're doing. You are literally, I know that it's a lot of weight to be like, oh my God, I'm I'm the first Black or whatever, but it was given to you for a reason. You know what I mean? Like everyone gets like some kind of weight put on them for a reason. So proud of you. Keep killing it. Keep being an activist and being a voice. I saw you check the heck out of the Seattle Times, and I loved every second of reading that paragraph. You know they updated the title.
Oh, I know. I told them to.
Okay, real quick, Amanda, what's next for you outside of the Nutcracker, which today we're recording this on a Friday, so that is when the Nutcracker starts at McCall Hall. So you guys got to get your tickets for that.
Well, the Nutcracker will be in my life until December 27th. But which I'm excited about. But after that, I'm going to New York for New Year's. So I'm excited to spend time with some family and finally see the ball drop. Never done that before.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, shoot, I want to thank you so much for coming down to iHeart. I know it's real nasty outside. You know, we're all probably still a little lethargic from yesterday's Thanksgiving. So I appreciate you coming down. This was an amazing interview, and hopefully, you know, you were able to spark an interest in another little Black or brown girl that wants to also be a ballerina. Awesome. Because obviously you're doing it, you know, Destiny's doing it, and more are doing it. So it's possible now.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
All right, you guys, that is it for today's episode of Rewind with Besa. Of course, until next time, I want you to have an amazing rest of your day. And as usual, keep that energy high.